Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sake Drinker and Friends. We are at Momosan Bar in Morimoto, Napa, on a beautiful summer day, way deep in July, almost August. We are very honored to have a great guest today, somebody we all look up to in the wine world. I like to call him a rock star sommelier. He's worn many hats along the years. Chris Sawyer, I mean, without further ado, I'll let him do a quick introduction about himself, what he's doing these days, and we'll get into the deep of sake world.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me. I love Morimoto Napa, and I love Morimoto himself so much, so it's great to be here with you, Eduardo. It's been fun. You and I have done a lot of stuff together, but, you know, I've been a sommelier for over 20 years. I've been feeling a lot of great things about the wine industry in general. I love to do wine education. I've been doing a lot of big things with Feast It Forward here in Napa, and a lot of things across the nation with a lot of different organizations. So it's all about wine, food, and all of these things, and a little bit of sake. So that's why I'm so glad to be here too. And I'll just say one quick thing about how I learned about sake, and it's kind of a cute little story. I'd never really had sushi until I was in my late teens. I went to visit my cousin in New York City, who was a director. He had just finished one of his films that actually got nominated for an Academy Award. And because I was there for my first time in New York City, I got to go to a sushi place with him, and I'd never really tried it, but I took his word for it, and I tried it, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm now a sushi fan. He said, well, if you're going to be a sushi fan, you got to taste the right kind of beverage with it, and so he introduced me to sake, and that was Calamine Apple, and he did a great job, and his film, it was a short film called Speed for Thespians, and it got nominated for Academy Award.
Wow. That's a great story. Yeah. I mean, we all have great stories about the first time we tried sake, but I think that one's on the top. That's pretty fun. And you were, how old were you roughly?
I was in my early 20s. I'll put it that way, just to not get say what age I was when I was drinking that. But right around 20ish.
Regardless, I mean, sake and a lot of the beverages in the world, I love how they connect you to a certain experience when you had them. It's like it's a direct, happy place as you try them and remember them and talk about them. I want to ask you real quick to explain Feast It Forward, which I'm captivated by the whole program you guys are doing. Yeah. Just a quick blurb about it.
Yeah, well, it's with Katie Hamilton Schaefer and a big crew of people that we really get together. And, you know, one of the great things about Katie is she's a big fan of ToutSuite, as I am as well. So we all like each other a lot. And this is really an organization that's really focused on raising funds for really great charitable events. We do a lot of things here in Napa Valley with, you know, Napa Valley Wine Auction. We do great things with the Truffle Festival, Napa Valley Film Festival, all of these kinds of things. Bottle Rock, of course, big time Bottle Rock with Chef himself and Snoop Dogg together, which was actually quite fun. And so, you know, we're really trying to bring a lot of education about food, wine out there to the public, but also with a fun approach to it, you know, and integrating music and cool personalities and pretty much what ToutSuite does every day, too.
Make sure you guys Google it whenever you have a chance. But without further ado, I wanted to pour some sake, because we're all here for one reason. Yep. And Sergio here is actually already ahead with the pairings. Ooh. I brought a little bite of hamachi that our sushi chefs prepared to go with the sake. Thank you very much, Sergio, who handles Momosan some days of the week. And I wanted to, as I pour the sake real quick, I wanted to mention a couple shows coming up with ToutSuite. ToutSuite, we have Tasting in the Dark tomorrow with a good friend of mine, Scott Lewis from B Wine Cellars. Oh. And then on the 17th, we have Lindsay Huntsman with Lineup, which I was a guest last time. It was such a fun show. I hope you guys get to watch it. And for our crew today, I wanted to pour some sake as well. We have some gentlemen that have been around the block a few times in the wine world. Very amazing people. Mr. McDonald and... I'll pour you this one here.
And Mr. Fitzpatrick as well.
Fitzpatrick.
So, who sold me a lot of great beverages through the years. And let me just say this about Tim McDonald, who's right over here as well. He is the great coordinator of the judges for the San Francisco International Wine Competition, and that's something that Eduardo and I got to judge just a few months ago. The winners are available, and you can look that up online. That's a San Francisco International Wine Competition related to Tasting Panel Magazine and Sommelier Journal as well. And this was your first year in judging that competition. It's been, gosh, I've been there for almost 15 years off and on. So how was it for you the first time?
I was beyond humble and honored to be there. It was such a group of legends in the wine world, and to have that much exposure to all these wines, some sake, and just the camaraderie, the whole experience as a whole, it was very memorable. I don't think we'll forget that one ever. It was pretty fun. Hopefully there next year, and just great team. I still keep hearing things and remembering and talking about some of the experiences. Pretty amazing thing that Andy and Tim are putting together over there.
Yeah.
And
well, all I'd say too is that we got your team put in some nice real some of the wines that made it in were not just wines, they were also sake. So there were two in the final round that I loved, and I thought that one with the little cucumber bit to it just made me start thinking about summer early, even though this was still technically the springtime. So I thought that was really a winner right off the bat. It started refreshing my palate. The minute I tasted it, I wanted them to bring me the whole bottle, but I did not get that.
And it's all about time and place. After tasting 40 red wines, some of them very tannic from all over the world, at least in our little panel, to have that sake to refresh and cleanse the palate, it was like a spa day. So whenever you guys taste a lot of red wines, make sure you grab a little cucumber or some fresh sake. And on that note, this sake here, along that realm of sake, and we have one more visitor here. We'll pass some sake around. This sake is pretty exciting, very different than anything I've had before I tried it. It's called Matsuno. It's a sake from Tochigi. Tochigi sits on the eastern side of Japan, heavily forested area. They source the water from a spring. Pretty clean green notes, cleansing finish. Yeah. It's a ginjo. Ginjo meaning it's about minimum 40% polish on the rice itself. And by not having the word junmai, means they added brewer's alcohol to it. Okay. So by adding the alcohol, without going too in depth, make sure you guys try it, because I'm going to talk for a bit. It makes it a very dry, aromatic, floral style of sake, and cleansing. Yeah. So that is the goal. So kanpai, everybody.
Kanpai.
Cheers.
You know, for me, as a sommelier, what I love about sake is that you really get the chance to smell it like you would a wine. You know, a lot of people go, well, you know, how's the color and everything? Well, this one's pretty clear.
Pretty clear.
You can't tell. You should be able to see from there. I mean, some of the ones that are non-filtered and things like that, you'll see much more of a cloudy look to it. But, you know, there are those kinds that get a little bit darker, but really, it's not really based on the color as much as the clarity and different forms of clarity. And I think that you know, when you come with these kinds of starting styles of sake, you're really talking about freshness. And just on this nose, I mean, I get that little touch of almond. I get a lot of little peach. I get some nice little lychee. I get a little bit of these kinds of little nutty qualities to it. But when you taste it, it's got this little tanginess to it, nice vibrant acidity too. But it's that smoothness and that little burst of flavor that really is there. And well, that's what I love about this wine. And, you know, when I talk about sake with, you know, people go, well, you know, I'm such a wine lover. You know, why would I be drinking this stuff? Because you have a palate, that's why. And because this wine, these wines in general, are going to be a lot more about texture. They're going to be a lot more about precision. They're going to be about sensual experiences, if you guys are open to doing that, because I think they're awesome. And I do sensual experiences as much as possible. But they're sensory, you know, is what we're really about, and they're about texture. And that's why when we talk about how they go with sushi and fine Japanese cuisine and cuisine in general, it's all about the textural feel and how this feels in my mouth. And I love this one.
I don't think anybody could have said it better in better words and concept. I mean, and that's why you are who you are. That's why we brought Chris Sawyer to rap.
I like sake.
Fluidly about sake. And with this one, I thought something clean and fun would would work out fairly well. And I invite you, please, to try it with a little fresh hamachi. We actually butchered this fish earlier today. As I was walking in, I saw the guys just breaking it down. I said, I think that would work amazingly, and that's usually how things happen, just last minute. So let me grab some proper weapons without further ado, or not.
And I think that's another thing about this as well, is just that when we talk about sushi, we're talking about the cleanest fish ever. I mean, that's what sushi is. It's like how precise you can cut it. And when you watch Chef Morimoto and the staff here really go into it, they are such detailed. And when I was watching, Snoop Dogg trying to do what Morimoto was doing on stage at Bottle Rock, it was quite amusing because he didn't have the skills quite that Morimoto did. But he was doing a very good job. He rolled them really well, though. For some reason, he has that talent to roll it. I don't know. I have no idea why. But it's really about the purity of this texture and these kinds of flavors in here, and it's the purity of this food that we're eating.
Absolutely. Please try it, Chris.
Okay.
I am dying to see what you think. And if you have the right fish at home and you can find some matsuno, which is now spreading through the country, that would be amazing. And then we have one more dish, actually, from Chef. This is for the following. Thank you very much for the following dish.
A little watermelon there. I like that.
Pretty as they get.
Yeah.
I think it's just a match made in heaven. And we all knew that. We all knew that sake and sushi is meant to be together. The purpose of the show is to actually put it beyond words and doing some French techniques or Italian or you name it. All kinds of food grows amazing. Even Mexican food we like doing at home, sometimes with sake. And that's how we're going to do it with the next course without getting too ahead.
Let me just say one thing, too, about Eduardo and I and really what our jobs are as sommeliers. It's to, when we're at great restaurants like this, people don't come in here to see us necessarily. They come in here to see Chef Morimoto and the great staff and to taste the food. That's why people come to great restaurants. We have the duties of bringing great beverages in here to complement those foods. And that really is what this wine is doing right now, or this sake is doing right now, is complementing this. The flavors were good originally, and they got explosive after I tasted that. So that's really the complementary note, and that's what the little touch that we have by knowing these things. And the more you learn about sake, and for wine for that matter too, it just helps you understand how it goes so well with food.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. What do you guys think in the audience? Do you enjoy it? Yeah? You ready for more sake? Awesome. Beautiful. So let's do one more. We'll keep talking.
Yep.
We have plenty of time on sake. We are not going to run out, I promise. We have a different style this time. This is a southern style sake. And to put it in perspective, I like to think of Japan as a map of Italy, where in the south you have a richer, more mineral style, more heat in the climate, more broad shoulders in general with sake. Let's say an Italian, Sicilian Nero d'Avola, it's like richer, more plump, rounder. Yep. And Schiava from Piemonte or from Alto Adige is going to be like sharp and light and very clean and feminine. So similar styles from Niigata, you have all the snowmelt, very clean, Hokkaido, all those areas. And when you get to the south, the dirty south, if they will, in terms of minerals, you have places like Kobe. This one's from Nara, which is one of the most famous regions of sake, more sought after in the original Edo periods and such, when sake started being more massively produced, because of the source in Nara. It's a very rich mineral style, which creates a richer palate. And in this case, the method is actually helping it to be richer even. This is a Kimoto. Okay. Kimoto, as some of us know, it's a older method of making sake in which the lactic acid and the enzymes are introduced into the mash with pole ramming. So you grab a pole, just as if you will in a canoe, made of wood, and just labor intensive. And by doing that, you create a rich, heavy, creamy, hairy-chested style of sake. Pretty fun.
Hairy-chested. You might note that.
Hairy-chested, dirty feet.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I get off this, which is kind of an interesting thing, and I can't remember the products from Japan, but I can think of some Chinese kinds of things like this. It's kind of like what we have, which is like Chex Mix. And just on the nose, how it kind of smells like that kind of, it's like these little kinds of crackers and things that are in a bag together. And but they're all different sources, you know, like they all have kind of different shapes, and it's a mixed blend. It's just very interesting how it invites you in, and from that you kind of get the minerals, you kind of get some strands of some interesting flavors that you're going to get here that are going to be a little bit more exotic and a little bit more traditional too.
Yeah, this is definitely not for the novice sake drinker. It has a little more oomph, and as it often happens when people try sake for the first time, you end up trying something like this, and then it just kind of throws you off. Obviously, this is not the richest, roughest style of sake as there is, but within the two of them and the realm of the sake world, it's not the cleanest either.
No.
So by having that richness, almost tannic structure, it invites you to play with richer dishes. So in this case, our chef Liz came up with a whimsical fun dish, which it's outstanding. Reminds me of our neighbor's salad. Celadon has a great pork belly and watermelon salad. Sort of that style. It has a little dab of goat cheese from a local farm, a little basil, the fresh watermelon, a crispy pork belly, and I'd like you guys to try it first, real quick, before we move on, Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, pork belly. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's one thing too that I love about this menu here is you're so good with fresh fish and lobster and you know the fresh catches of the day, but also pork is a big thing here, and you know there's so many different ways that you use pork belly, you know, where it's like you've got a version that's like kind of an iceberg lettuce salad that I saw that was just on the menu recently, and that just sounds so delicious with walnut and pork belly on a Caesar kind of like or an iceberg salad. So it's a classic.
It's fun. The textures, the flavors.
And pork is a big deal in Japan and in Asia in general. So, you know, you can think outside that by thinking about things at home that you would be having with pork. You know, you might be doing pork chops on the grill, and there's no reason you can't do sake with that. It's just really getting into this kind of a different beverage and getting into the different flavors that they offer, these different styles. It's really fun, not only from drinker's standpoint or someone that really likes these kinds of fun beverages, but also from a chef's perspective as well.
Absolutely. Let's say you have some friends from Japan. They come over, gift you a bottle, and this is I'm bringing it down to everybody that's watching the show and will watch it. And so somebody brings you a bottle because for Japanese culture, let's say you have a friend of a friend or somebody you meet or a business, they're going to bring you a bottle of sake, right? Most likely, unless it's a whiskey, which is also amazing. But if they give you a bottle of sake and you end up with this thing, well, I have no idea what it says, right? All in Japanese, and unless you're well-versed in Japanese, what you do is you look in the back. Ideally, you'll have a little small blurb like this one that small letters it says Kimoto, Tsukuriji, Junmai Shu, right?
Yep.
So meaning Kimoto style, Junmai means pure rice, no brewer's alcohol added. So identifying the region, whether it's south or north, and the style of method that it's made, you can immediately say, wow, so okay, so they brought me this bottle home, I'm gonna cook for them tomorrow, what am I gonna do? So if it's one like this, you can just throw the grill. Get some lamb chops, get hamburgers, get anything on the grill going, something with a little texture and smokiness, you'll be the star. However, if they give you something, they gift you something from north, and maybe a Junmai Daiginjo, which is the highest polishing, very, very delicate style of sake, feminine styles. So you don't want to overwhelm it and do a general child chicken and then be too spicy and rich and be too much for the dish. So you just go to the local Whole Foods or whatever store you have in your area. I don't know what they have in Finland, but you go to the store, grab some fish, slice it, and quick sauce, and you're ready to go. And you have an idea, and you're somewhat educated on what you're doing.
Absolutely, and I think that this little bite right here with the the pork belly and the watermelon and everything on that little plate right there. It's a really fascinating thing because when I took that sip, it really separated out certain flavors in the end. The fruit kind of just complemented that. And then what happened was a very interesting like little finish that has a little bit of like a dried coconut note to it and a little bit of nuttiness. And it just kind of leaves you that. Not only does it do that, it's not a sweet style, so it leaves you wanting more because it's dry. And that's a good thing because there's a little bit to go around in this big bottle.
Just about. Once we're done with the bottle, we can end the show, if we all agree. On that note, let me pour you a little more, Tim.
That's the other great thing about sake too, is that you continue to share with each other. It's a little bit smaller pours than a big wine glass, obviously. We're not doing this 5-ounce pour. And remember, the other thing about sake is it's a little bit higher in alcohol. So when you do this, you do it in small amounts at a time. You don't do shots of sake. That's not the point. People see this size of glass, they're all, oh, cool, shooters, man. And that's not what it's about at all. It's about these little sips and how they really work in, they're cohesive with these kinds of foods and how they really just complement. The food complements the sake, and the sake really does a great job especially with this dish right here.
Absolutely. And in terms of glassware, we mentioned before briefly, but if at home all you have is a sake glass or a tumbler, try it out. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Riddell has now a sake glass, a daiginjo glass, and it almost looks like a tulip, like a small Bordeaux glass, and it's fun, and it actually, if you try it side by side, it will have some effect. However, don't be shy. If you're not going to open a bottle of sake because you don't have sake glasses, you should not worry. Grab a straw, put her in there just like a coconut.
Yeah.
That'll work, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. But they're not shooters. Let's get that point across.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's try it. Did you already try it?
Yeah, I did. I mean,
I didn't.
I loved it. So I will have another one, though.
Wow, that's exciting. Guys, do you want to try some?
Yep.
Yes, but it comes with this one. We have a little sake from south of Japan, richer style, and a little pork belly and watermelon.
So good.
Don't be shy. It's just a camera.
Actually, we got a couple cameras. That's why it's so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Enjoy, guys.
Kanpai.
Cheers. And tell us what you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wait till you taste the food with it. It's really good. It's a little pork belly on the top of that watermelon.
Watermelon, pork belly, goat cheese, and basil. Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Textures and flavors, and what do you think?
That
Fun,
works.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little treat. Why not share? Make sure you try some of the sashimi as well.
Yep.
Give you a chopstick here. Now you're staying in the show. Yeah. And on that note, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank ToutSuite, Chris Sawyer. Man, we are way honored to have you here on the show.
Yeah, what a pleasure to be here, and keep up the great work. I love this show, and I love working with you too because this is a very good expert in sake, and he's a great sommelier with wine too.
Thank you, coming from you.
Yeah.
You're the one. Thank you guys. Thanks to the audience and everybody that made it. Thank you guys. Thanks for being the guinea pigs. Cheers, guys. Cheers.